Have you ever felt complete and utter chaos when it comes to cutting and sewing up shorts or trousers, and you don't even know which part goes where? Well, don't worry. Today, we're taking our pattern that we did in part one, we're going to cut it out, and we're going to sew it up in a very logical, simple, easy and calm way. And then, of course, we're putting on our Faux-Shirred waistband that we did in part one, and we'll end up with a pair of really comfy woven shorts. Lay out your material. Now I'm repurposing some material from an old project that I have unpicked, so that's why it looks like this. Yours will be a nice flat piece of material, and if you're laying it out with a single side material, not folded, you'll be cutting like I'm doing for this front piece. So cut yourselves right around the way of your pattern. You notice that I am adding seam allowance when I cut. That is because I don't put seam allowance into my patterns. If you've put seam allowance into your pattern, go ahead and just cut as is. You'll also notice here, I think that I haven't got it straight in my hem, so I'm just dotting in where my pattern says it was. And when I make it up, I'll know whether my eyeball here was correct or my pattern was correct, and then I can make the corrections if needed to the pattern. All right, now you can see that I've got wrong side up. And did I flip the pattern? No, I didn't, because I flipped the material. So make sure that you're always considering whether you have a right side and a left side. Otherwise, if you cut it the same way, you could end up with two right legs or two left legs. And believe you me, I've made that mistake. So I'm just, again, dotting in that discrepancy I see. Might be my pattern, might be my eyes, but we'll see when we sew it up. And that is my two pieces. That will be the front. Clearly I have a left and right leg, so that's nice. I'm just going to put that together and put it aside. Now, I'm spending a bit of time smoothing things. If you've got wrinkly material, run an iron over it. It'll be so much more accurate. Okay, I really should have run an iron over this. Okay, here we go with the back pieces. And this time you'll see that I've got two pieces of fabric together, okay? And that means that I don't have to flip my pattern or flip my material. I've got them right sides together. Even if you put them wrong sides together, by doing this folded over material, you will get a left leg and a right leg. So once again, I am cutting my seam allowance as I go. You may have your seam allowance in your pattern and you will cut as per your pattern. I don't use very much seam allowance because I'll be doing an overlocker job and I have a very small seam. Now I trued my pattern, so I also have that discrepancy that I'm marking in now on the back pieces as well. And just finishing cutting that out. And we are almost finished with cutting our shorts. I remember being a beginner and shorts and trousers scaring me. So this is the back piece, back crutch, front piece. And the order we're going to sew this, we will sew the back crutch first, the front crutch second. Doesn't matter if you do back or front first, second. Then we do the inner seam. Then we do the side seams. Then we'll do the waistband. And lastly, we get to do the hem. You will have pinned or pegged the right sides together, crotch curve, front or back. We're doing the front one actually here. And the sewing of this is a little different on the overlocker, so I will talk you through what happens with curves. You can of course do this on the sewing machine. You would finish your raw edges first with a zigzag and then you would just sew your straight stitch. Now you can see I'm coming to the curve bit of that crutch. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to try and turn my material like I would on a sewing machine. Instead, I'm going to gather up and straighten the material. And that's how we do it on the overlocker. We don't try and curve around curves like we do on a sewing machine. We straighten the material out and the machine just runs in a straight line. And lo and behold, a curve is actually there. So let's do the other crutch. I'm working on the back. Again, you can do it on sewing machine. You finish your edges because you don't want fraying with a zigzag. And then you straight stitch along your seam line for your crutch seam. So once again, I'm heading towards the curve with my overlocker. And what do? We straighten up the material and we will get, ignore that seam line, you're not going to have it, we will get a curve even though we've sewn in a straight line. There you go, there's our crutch curve for the back. This little bit here, just ignore, your clone will not have that, but because I had nothing suitable, couldn't clone, I had to draft, and this was an adjustment piece I needed to add. Again, ignore it, yours won't have it. Let's head to the inner legs, and that crutch point has to be neatly one on top of the other. I push one side one way and the other side the other way for the seam allowance, and that reduces bulk. So I'm just pegging that point, and then I go down each of the inner legs and pin, because you do not want your machine to progress differently and get a different leg towards the hem. All right, now we take it to our machine to sew the inner leg. We take it from the ankle or the knee or whatever the length of your shorts are, and we take it up and we make sure that our crutch seams are lying flat. One pushed one way, the other pushed the other, and then we keep on going down the other inner seam of the leg. To see how well we did that seam, let's flip it to the right side. You can see there's a cross that forms in the crutch join. How close you got that intersecting cross is how well you joined it up. A perfect intersecting cross means you did a perfect job. The side seams are the easiest seams to do. Just make sure you've got your waist at the same height and you've pinned or pegged, and just progress down your seam towards the hem. And we do that directionally. I've moved to my other side seam now. We do the same direction, waist to hem, because we do directional sewing in case the machine progresses the material at different speeds, and we can tidy up the hem. That's what it looks like. Side seam's done. Obviously you can do that on your sewing machine. So just to understand this, there's the front crotch curve, and all the way through the back, that's the back crotch curve. Those are the side seams, and here in the middle, you're not going to have that extra little piece, remember, but those are your inner legs, and up there's your waistline. All right, we're ready to get prepared to attach the waistband. So here's our waistband, and I have got a join line, okay, where I've joined the sides of the waistband. I can't really see it on the good side, so I have to go underneath to find it, and I've decided to put that as a side join, not at the back, at the side, but you could put it anyway. I've also trimmed the bottom. Now I mark the sides because I've folded it in half again, and then we can mark the quarter marks. And this is going to be important for when we join to the shorts. So finding the quarter marks and marking them with pins. That's the waistband done. Let's move to the shorts, and we align the center back and center front seams, because remember the back piece is often larger. So we have to align the center back and center front seams in order to find that quarter mark. And there we go, we've marked that on the side. It's not going to be the side seam. And then the same again on our other side, making sure we've aligned the center back and center front so that we get a true quarter mark on the side. And that's marked the quarters. Let's put it together. So I'm just looking for my join line because I can't really see that. So there's one of my quarter marks, and I'm lining it up with my other quarter mark, and just I put a peg on top of that. So I'm joining my shorts at the quarter marks to the waistband with its quarter marks. That's what I'm doing all the way around. I did put a little note there that I'm putting this inside out. It was a mistake. It's very easy to do this. I didn't pick it up until the end, so just be aware of that so you don't sew it up wrong. All right, that's pegged in. And now we're going to baste it in. Okay, don't go straight to an overlocker. Instead, on your sewing machine, turn the straight stitch length all the way up so it's really long, and that will baste it in. And what we're doing with basting is that we are making sure that our fit is going to be okay. Because it's a long stitch, it's quite easy to unpick and take out if we've made a mistake. Now, I did this a couple of times. At the minute, you can see that there's a dark blue little bit of edge sticking out, which is my waistband. And then that light underside, that's my shorts. I'm not matching up the edges of the fabric there. And why I'm doing that is because I think I needed to shorten my waistband a bit, so I'm basting it in at a shorter length without affecting the length of my rise of my shorts in terms of crotch fit. Alright, so we're stretching the waistband to match the quarter points of the waistband and the shorts when we sew this in with our basting stitch. And put your join line in between the elastics so you're not sewing on top of an elastic. It's going to look like this. And when we flip it over, we are checking to see that that join line is even all the way around. Now you see here I've made a bit of a wiggle, so we'll go back in there, just unpick the offending area and restitch that so it's a nice straight line. And my final join line looked like that. If we have a look at it from the other side, it's still unfinished underneath. So you have the option now of going in and just finishing up with the overlocker. I have lined up that stitch line so that I'm carefully going around my basting stitch. And on a sewing machine, your edges would already be finished with zigzag. If you haven't, you can go in and finish each piece of material with a zigzag stitch and then go in with a final straight stitch over that basting stitch. Let's also get the hemming done. So all I'm doing, and you'll see I'm just evening up with my overlocker, I'm just finishing the raw edges because it's pretty fray-worthy material. So get round both legs, finish either zigzag or with the overlocker just to finish the edges. It'll look like that. And then what I'm going to do, you see that can feel a little rough against my skin of my thighs. So I'm going to turn it under as well as turn my hem up. I'm going to use my measuring tape to get my turn up all the way around consistently, and always tucking under the overlocked edge, the finished edge, as well as turning up the hem. How big your hem is will be dependent on what you allowed for in your pattern or when you cut it out, as well as how long you like it on yourself. All right, let's get to the sewing. It's very, very easy, straight stitch, sewing machine, and we're just going to go all the way around our legs. Well, we have now finished our basic pair of summer breezy shorts, very much in the style of our inspo picture. And next time we're going to be adding all the bells and whistles. Join me then, enjoy your comfy life, and click on my face right now to subscribe. I'll see you in part 3.